Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today's pick a card reading is a bit of an exploration psychologically, I guess, and about a particular area of our psychology, which is our own internal power and how we use that in a way that is responsible and to our highest good and to the highest good of others, rather than having the power kind of almost turn on itself or be negated in some way by our responses on a kind of egoic level. And the inspiration to do it is I really felt drawn to doing a reading with the Ego Observer Tarot. You can see 3 of the cards there. I really love this tarot. I feel like it's very different. I feel like it's about the psychology. The very fact that it's called Ego Observer, the concept in it is if we observe and understand our ego, we can have it as a very powerful force that works for us. Equally, if we don't observe it, our ego can control us. So I think there's a really big thing about understanding our power and how we use it for good, and understanding how we would build it in a positive way, or rather than then getting into fear of missing out or competition or all the things that ego can sometimes take us into delusion or aggrandizement or megalomania at its worst. So today we're looking at what hidden power within you is about to be unleashed, looking at what it is and the kind of context and some of the energy around it. And then we'll be having a look at how best to use it and how best to understand it and keep it in balance. So that's really what this is about. It is all in the journey towards self-empowerment, self-actualization, all the sort of things that I really like to talk about and support in this channel. But we do have to look at this in where could there be areas where, it could control us rather than us controlling it, and so forth. So as always, you can go to more than one reading if you like or you feel drawn to it. You can always go to the same number pile if you always do. But if you are the sort of person who intuits in and is drawn to a particular pile, what could help is that I shuffled and asked for each pile for the first major arcana card to come out to give us some idea about the nature of the power that is about to be brought up within you, built up if you're already kind of aware of it, but its level of intensity was maybe hidden before, all of that kind of thing. So for pile number 1, we have alchemy or temperance, so the temperance energy. For pile number 2, we have the star with confidence. And for pile number 3, we have the lovers with attachment. So if any of those energies particularly draw to you, then you've found your pile. Otherwise, use whatever method works for you. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So as I said, we use the major arcana card to get a bit of a sense about what the nature of this power is. And then I'm using the Fata Morgana Oracle to get a sense about how that's emerging and why it's emerging. Very interesting to come to temperance. Temperance to me is all about healing, bringing things into balance. I feel like this, when I look at the Fata Morgana cards, is talking about bringing the emotion and the heart and the spirit back to something, bringing things into balance to create and bring into being something that you maybe thought you couldn't do or failed in the past, or that you thought you had to put aside for other matters. Because the overall sense of alchemy and temperance is bringing things into balance, all the sort of elements into balance. It's like the perfect recipe. It's both the realized magician. When we get the magician card in the tarot, it's like all the skills and abilities and elements and knowledge is ready to sort of be enacted on the journey. When we get to temperance, it's where it's been brought into balance and been alchemized. So that suggests a journey. Part of this power that's coming up is a journey where you've gone from the original talent, skills, abilities, aims, dreams, and you've gone through the process, which is, a process of learning and dealing with reversals of fortune and all of that kind of thing to get to alchemy where things are in balance. So it makes a lot of sense that one of the Fata Morgana cards here is Forgotten Dreams. This is an indication that something that you wanted to do, maybe when you were very young, maybe fairly recently, it might have been that you had to choose between 2 jobs and you went to one and in fact the other one would have been better, and you're thinking, well, has that ship sailed? But maybe it hasn't, or maybe something very similar to it could be resuscitated, because this is saying that this ability to bring things into balance and alchemy and to arise out of the difficulty where there have been blocks and so forth, just in the alchemical process, to come out of, say, the Negredo, is in fact to give new birth to something that maybe you had thought you couldn't do anymore. So there's something here that your hidden power that's arising is that you're now ready to rebalance and almost have a new recipe for something that you put aside or something that you weren't able to achieve before. Pray for rain is the sense of drawing in the spiritual sustenance that you need, and that sense of water. I feel like with both pray for rain and then celestial soak, where we literally have a bathtub sitting in underneath the cosmos. I think there is very much a strong energy here about bringing the water, the heart, all the things that we would associate with the cups suit, with the water element. I feel it's like drawing that energy back, drawing the heart back, drawing the love for this idea back. So praying for rain, praying for that to come into where something has dried over or you felt you'd had to walk past. So it's like finding the fluid ingredient that you need for the alchemical process. And then celestial soak is connecting into your spirit, like soaking in it. Like that's literally what it's about. It's like connecting with the cosmos, connecting with who you are. And you look at how the alchemy or temperance card is portrayed here. It's almost like being your own sun within a solar system or something like that. It's like drawing in the celestial energies that are right for you. And I almost think too, we've got two golden rings here. And I feel like this is almost what you have been doing that meant you had to put something aside. But now the new energy is coming through the cosmos and you can be crowned with being able to do what you do want to do. So, or that you wanted to do that you put aside. So I think that if that resonates for you, that there was something, there's some sort of dream, ambition, idea that, you've kind of like you've been busy doing other things or you didn't feel was going to work. This is saying that bring the heart back into it and connect to the cosmos, and you actually have the power to alchemize the energy around that and to bring the rain, to connect to the cosmos, to reawaken this. This is all about something new coming in that you can really build and grow with, divine inspiration, but it connects back to something that maybe you didn't have the confidence for before, but you're ready now. You're the alchemist. You're the magician realized, as I say. So that's what I think this is talking about. It's the power to achieve something that was a dream that you felt you couldn't achieve. There is now a way to do it by connecting to the spiritual cosmos sort of side of you and the heart, the emotional energy. Like it's replenishing this in some way. So let's have a look at on a number of levels. So because this is very psychological, as I said in the introduction, when we're looking at power that is arising us, it's how our psychology deals with it. I want to look at the power of your character in relation to this. And in each of these, we're going to be looking at things as to whether or not there's any impediments, blocks that you need to be aware of, or whether there's sort of really wonderful things that you leverage. So the power of character, then the power of the unconscious, and then how the combination of these leads to the destiny that you can create with this new power. So the power of character that is relevant to this. We have the Six of Wands, the Seven of Swords reversed, the Four of Wands reversed, the Five of Coins, and the Four of Swords. Okay. Move these over a bit just to balance it a bit on the screen. So, some things that are really positive for you in your character. You're very realistic about things. The Seven of Swords reversed. You're realistic and you're honest. There's no frills. I think when you felt something couldn't happen before, you were right about that. You weren't at a point where it could happen before. So you're very realistic. What that also means is when you feel that it could, you're going to be realistic about that as well. And I think there's something about this where had you tried to do this dream before, you wouldn't have had the successes or the validation or been seen to have the skills that you would be seen to have now. So I feel like what this is saying is that your character knows that you are ready now to win. And it's realistic. You were realistic before the time was not right. You're realistic now that there's a possibility. You're also realistic that this may upset a few people around you with Four of Wands reversed. That I feel is more about other people. The card does talk about embodiment, but I feel in this it's more that there could be a pushback from other people, what you have embodied before and what that has been in relation to others, because I think Four of Wands is often about our connections with other people, our teamwork, all that kind of thing. You have to push back on something around that. You have to embody something else. Again, it's a bit like, this is the embodiment, this first ring, this is the new ring coming in. One has to supplant the other. Now, issues that you have around your character to be aware of is that if you worry about the materiality of this, you may withdraw from it. So your character can sometimes go, unless this is going to pay the bills or whatever, it's perfectly understandable, but like unless it's going to pay the bills, or if I feel like I'm going to be too lonely and pushed out of the group, I may withdraw from doing it. So that's where the fear of being alone, the fear of lack or loss to actually get to what you want might stop you. But again, this is like connecting back to the heart of what you want and connecting to yourself. If you turn this character around to when I feel alone, I use that energy, to connect to the cosmos and know that I'm never alone. So I think that the character energy here, if you're worried about upsetting other people and that you're going to be alone, turn that fear into, I'm connecting to who I truly am. I'm connecting to the cosmos with the Four of Swords because I'm ready, and the rest will look after itself. So there's a kind of a leap of faith that being different and being alone is to be truly connected to the cosmos, and so eventually to be more connected to everything. But realistically, there's a bit of a journey, but you're ready now. You're ready now to do it. So your character, I think, is nicely aligned for this new power to come through, this power to reawaken this dream. So what about the power of the unconscious? What's going on there for you? Both to help your hidden power arising to realize a forgotten dream, but also what could be standing in its way. 8 of Cups reversed. King of Coins reversed, King of Cups, 4 of Coins reversed, and it's interesting when we've got that with the 5 of Coins there. 10 of Cups reversed belonging. Okay, it's very similar. One of the things that's good about this, and it's probably why in your character you are very realistic, is that your unconscious and conscious are pretty well aligned. Again, you've got the balance going on. There is something emotional operating that you can't move on from. I think this is the forgotten dream. I think that's working for you because you're ready with the 6 of Wands to be victorious with that. But it's at its beginning. With the King of Coins reverse, you haven't established it. You've established something in yourself. It could be getting a qualification. It could be some success in something else that people would then go, okay, this will mean success more generally. You've done that, but it isn't a realized thing yet. Unconsciously it's not. It's almost like whatever it is that you want, your dream, it's something very new, something that there isn't a prototype of in some way. So you're aware of that, but that's not making you give it up. And underneath, you're very connected to your heart, but it's a bit more unconscious. Consciously, you've been more thinking it through and deciding when is the time to release it to others. Change has to occur. And it's a bit destabilizing. There's something about this which, maybe does run a risk, like it could be, I'm tired of the rat race. I'm going to, leave a full-time job, only have part-time to pay some bills so that, I kind of look after my sort of main kind of like survival needs. But the rest of the time I want to pursue this, even if that means it feels like I'm moving backwards. There's something like that going on. It doesn't have to be as literal as that, but there's something there where, and the unconscious is a little bit worried about that, but is kind of ready to do something. The big issue is that you really do want to connect with others, and you really, so that's, if anything was a block here, it's that there's something about this dream that others will not necessarily agree with, or it means that you're leaving people that you liked or something like that, or it's different to what your family wanted. That's operating. But I think what's really important for you unconsciously is the King of Cups upright will gazump a 10 of Cups reversed. So even though there is that little bit of like, can I be different? Can I really do this? Is it going to be materially an issue, and am I going to be, outside of the friendship circle or outside of the family approval or whatever it might be? The King of Cups knows what you're meant to do, knows who you're meant to be, and you are actually very well developed there. So I think in many ways for you, your heart and mind work very well together. It's just that you've kind of suppressed to some degree the mind, the cups, the emotional energy into the unconscious. The conscious is more about strategy. But bringing that unconscious heart energy up, that water energy, that's what's going to bring everything into balance for you and make you know, you're ready to do this. So what is the combination? You put the combination of those two together. If we look at character and our unconscious, then we kind of look at destiny, because people say character is destiny, but it's kind of both the frontal character and it's also what's driving us underneath. So what is the destiny around your hidden power that comes from a combination of this? The Devil. So something that's very, very compelling. Queen of Cups. Nine of Cups. Queen of Swords reversed. Okay, all right. Okay, this is telling, in the heart of it, this is true to you emotionally, King and Queen of Cups. And if some of this is about a forgotten dream of a love, and that's a possibility with this, and wondering whether you're going to be alone if you're with this person or if other changes are shifting to make it possible, there's a very strong sense here of getting a wish, Nine of Cups, Queen of Cups, and King and Queen of Cups together. So certainly if there's something like that, that's very, very positive. There's a destiny here for you to become more and more emotionally authentic and therefore create your dream. So it's saying what we saw at the beginning. But it is also saying that part of what you have to deal with is the Devil card here, like addiction. I feel like, because that's how it's sort of portrayed in this, I think this is that keeping the balance to something that's realistic, well-timed, and you let it develop authentically, as opposed to getting so obsessed with it that it becomes an addiction. Or over here with the Queen of Swords reversed, that you might actually start to be too self-critical. And in fact, there might be something that's going on here saying everything is ready, but you may have actually developed unconsciously a kind of a pattern or a habit of being self-critical. So this is, and like that, and you're protecting the heart, you're protecting the King of Cups, you're protecting the Queen of Cups. But this is saying you are meant now to get this. So you've got to come to terms with that. Is there a self-critique? Because you are overall very realistic, but you maybe tilt towards not yet, I've got to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect for this. You just have to be balanced. That's what it's basically saying. So let's have a look at this from divine masculine and divine feminine, because when we're looking at power, we kind of have both those aspects, the aspect of with masculine action, ambition, drive, with the aspect of feminine, receptivity, the heart, nurturing, all of that kind of thing. And what I felt I wanted to do was I wanted to start with the deity energy, like the most maximum power associated with this on both those sides for you, and then a different deck that's more on the kind of day-to-day or psychological level on those, just to see how those things are playing out. Because particularly when we're looking at deity energy, we're looking at really powerful forces that are kind of really probably within our subconscious or our unconscious. And then when we're looking at how they manifest, they either manifest well or they may be something we have to think about. So the masculine, divine masculine deity energy is Hades, death. Okay. And the divine feminine is Bodicea, unity. Now, the interesting thing about that is that, like Hades, that's the underworld, that's being able to be in the underworld. So this is part of why you're very realistic, actually. You don't sugarcoat things. You see things as they actually are. And you see the depth of it, and there is a lot of power in your unconscious, because if you think of the unconscious as being a bit like the underworld in a way within our own psychological structure, I think that there is something here about it's picking up some of the energy of the death card and tarot about choice. So there's a lot of, in your divine masculine, the choice, you have actually a strong choice. And it's interesting that here with the destiny, the Queen of Cups, the female energy and the wish is complementing what is within your unconscious, which is very strong, which is the divine masculine version of the cups, which is the King of Cups. So this isn't about gender or gender identity, but within your subconscious, your unconscious is very strong divine masculine energy of change and choice. So that is and also, Hades, the underworld, is a bit like the Negredo in alchemy. You can't do this. You can't bring up a power like this. You can't become the alchemist without dealing with the shadow and the underworld and all that kind of thing. It's all part of it. So that's part of your power that way. And then Bodicea, this is talking about unity because she fought for her people. So there's something about the people. Now that's the other interesting energy, because there is something here where part of this is working out whether you either have to find a different group of people or how you can stay connected to people while you're still pursuing what you want. But Bodicea is a warrior. So for all that there is that connection, there's still the warrior of going forward and protecting something. And see how the Queen of Cups is protecting her world. See how the Nine of Cups is drawing the heart energy in. I feel like it's saying that you have a part of your hidden power as the Temperance, as the alchemist, is to go within the depths, make the decision that does support those that you care about, but which is what a warrior would do. It may not be fully understood always. So I think there's that. You need being able to follow your own path to do this. Now, how does that play out more generally? So we'll use a masculine archetype deck for how this is playing out more on the day-to-day. And we'll see if there's any dissonance or issues around the very strong power of choice, shadow work, all of that kind of thing that you have with Hades there. So, mentor. Okay, so in actual fact, and I don't know whether some of your dream is about something to teach others, guide others, or whatever, your capacity to do this, you will see it in how you mentor and help others. So as I say, I feel like you're a non-sugarcoat. I don't feel like you're harsh. I don't feel like you go, the facts don't care about your feelings, as I say. But I do think that you are very open to looking at things as they actually are. And I think that creates in you, from the divine masculine sense, a power associated with this, where you can not only bring about what you want, but you can mentor others. So you can create a new kind of dynasty. So this is nice because that connects to, if there's the issue about belonging operating for you, you can actually bring others with you. Then how the Bodhisattva, which, as I say, is an interesting feminine energy. It is both connected and caring, but it is also warrior-like. How does that play out in the world? Yin, heart, humble, don't compete, don't prove. Okay. So it is towards the heart. I think, now that's interesting because, again, it looked to me like you had to get to the point where others would see you as valid for what you were doing. But you're not sort of someone who pushes yourself forward. So your battle is not about, look at me, I'm the best. It is, can I have the recognition without having to compete? Can I be humble in what I do, but still move forward to do something that matters? But that's connecting to the heart. So this is saying this is not a battle with others for you to say, see, I'm the leader. You don't really need to do that. You just need to connect to who you are and trust that others will follow and see and recognize what you're doing. This is not a competition. There's no one who can compete with you about your self-actualization. And that's one of the key things about self-actualization. The thing that gets in the way of it is when we want to compete and compare all the time. So if your warrior spirit is towards the dream, that will naturally bring others with you, because if someone is humble and strong, people do want to have them as a mentor. What the last thing somebody wants as a mentor is a complete egotist who has to have all the glittering prizes. It doesn't work. So I think you're very well balanced for all of this. But there's something about owning what is yours and your dream and moving forward regardless of the impact on others. And then you will find that you will draw people to you through the way that you do that. So that's very positive. Let's get you a couple of stars to guide you, and then we'll also get a couple of mythical creatures for their advice. So firstly, we have Dark Moon. Oh, what a surprise with Hades. Endings, experience, integration, advice. There's some process that got in the way of the forgotten dream needs to end so that something new can come through. But you are someone who can be in the shadow and can be in the darkness, and you don't become dark. It gives a depth. It gives a depth and a perspective to what you do. It's part of your power. And Gemini, versatility, self-expression, curiosity. This may give you a bit of a hint. It's all about how you communicate this, the mentor, the communicator, being a bit quirky, being a bit different, and knowing that in itself draws other people to you. Then let's see. Actually, I think I just want to get one mythical creature for this. I just want one mythical creature to give some advice around it, because I think a lot of this is more about who you are as a person. But I do like with the gods and goddesses and so forth, and with this, just want to kind of look at it at that kind of really high-level archetypal energy as well. So we get the Yeti, dignity, love yourself and be proud of everything you do, even your mistakes, because mistakes mean you're trying. So I think this is all about the strength, and in being different. the Yeti, the Yeti were large, they were strong, but they were different, or are different. So, but yeah, dignity, the dignity that you have as the alchemist, as the person who's moving forward and self-actualizing. So consider like the Yeti energy is with you to support you. Okay, so to finish off, I just want to get you to use your own intuition now, and you'd be very good at this with the dark moon and so forth. You're using the Deeper Self Oracle. If you haven't seen this before, it just has images. And what I always say with this is maybe see the image, pause the video before you hear what I have to say about it. See what you get, because this is the deck that is meant to enhance your own intuition. Then you can unpause and hear what I have to say. So the energy around your hidden power being unleashed. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to presume you're pausing now and that now you've unpaused. What I see in this is the connection to others and finding the others who are similarly different. Because this is what this is sort of saying. You self-actualizing being the you that you have to be, and therefore then connecting with without competing with others who are the them that they have to be. Very high kind of sense of telepathy, the connection of all of us to each other. But it's very different. You've got an alien here. You've got something that looks a bit like a bard or something like that. Something that looks a bit like a monk. Again, possibly something fae. So there's sort of all the connections to all that is different, but you are very much contained within yourself and who you are. I feel like colouring wise, the red shirt is that close to your heart is the root chakra, is the basis of who you are. How you move forward with the sort of legs, pelvis and so forth, blue is in communication. And then there's something sort of creative and very powerful in the yellow, sort of like the solar plexus energy operating, connecting with others. So that's the power arising in you and connecting to others. So this isn't going to disconnect you from others, but it may connect you to different people. Now, what I will say is that this card in the book talks about past lives, I believe. So there could also be something here that is talking about you are a combination of your past, both in past lives and in this life. And some additional meanings are, it is time to take the gold from the past, the lessons, teaching and experiences, and release the rest. You are viewing this situation through the lens of a past similar situation. So you may well, either in this life or in other lives, had this apocryphal point where you had to go within and take on your power of who you are. But go forward confidently, I think, Pile 1. This is a very positive message, and I think you're very well attuned to dealing with it. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the star, which in this particular deck talks about confidence, the confidence to pursue our dreams, to move forward towards our North Star, our Grail quest, whatever you want to sort of talk about it. And there's a lot of sense of personal power in the colouring with all the yellow there, sort of like radiating out from the person. In fact, to me, it's the way it's depicted also feels almost like another version of the sun. So I almost get the sun energy as well as the star energy with this. But what's interesting, when we have a look at the Fata Morgana cards here, they give us a bit of a sense about what is the nature of the hidden power around confidence, around following your path. We actually have the Stargazer's Summit reversed, which is interesting, and I'll get to this one third, but we have these two other energies. Now, this is why you should go forward with confidence. This might be the point at which either the cost of it that you're aware of, or it could be, where you stumble on confidence. And so when we're sort of looking at the hidden power, how you actually deal with that. Because when we look at these two, this sort of tells me why you should be moving forward with confidence. Spirit is saying you're ready to move towards something that matters to you. You with inner peace, you're very balanced within. You can contemplate and understand your role. You could understand what you were going for, whatever this was. And any power energy that you wanted to bring forward and that you feel within makes sense to you and is sort of like who you truly are. This is saying be at peace with it. This is coming through. Be confident. This is meant to arise. And you have the balance within. You're like a very steady, like what I get about this, I've got to say, is almost, it feels a bit like a Tibetan monk or something like that. Doesn't mean you have to go off and sit on a mountaintop, but it's that sense of like stillness, purpose, sureness, balance that comes from that. Or maybe a really, really good martial artist might be another good example of that. That is there with you within. So you really have a very good balance around whatever this power is. And part of your power is that balance, that stillness, that true purpose, that true north. And as a result of that, you also have the skills and the energy and the understanding of your environment to be flexible and go with the flow. So this stillness and understanding of self is not stopping you from being able to navigate and negotiate around the world. You are kind of like, you're both within very attuned to who you are, but you're also very attuned to your environment and to the energies that are operating and to move with the flow. So that's why you should be confident. You know, it's, as I say, maybe martial artist is the best way to describe it. It's like even when you're in a battle, and the thing about martial arts is it uses the energy coming towards it to actually win the battle just as much as any, power energy within. So you're very well balanced to do something and I think you would be someone who in your world is seen as balanced, seen as fair, seen as understanding the environment. This is all part of the power that you have, and it's coming up even more. The thing that may be blocking it, or the thing that you may have to kind of accept as a result of that, with the Stargazer summit reversed, when it's upright, it's sort of tuning into all the other lights and stars of the world. It's like a communal sort of energy. So gazing at your own stars, it's also bringing all the stars down to Earth. See how the stars aren't in the sky? They're sort of other entities or other energies. So it's kind of you connecting with others, connecting with the cosmos. When it's reversed, this almost makes me think either you don't feel that you belong in, like you feel like this is the path of someone lonely. That might be why I was feeling Tibetan monk, that there is a loneliness that comes with following your true north. You may feel that you didn't fit in with your family, you didn't fit in with your workplace, you didn't fit in with the culture that you're in or the spiritual beliefs. Or it may be that your path is, and your power and your confidence is to be able to gaze at the star within you rather than within others, and rather than in the sky. It's like the star that you are, that is coming up in you is you, as opposed to you amongst others or you in the cosmos. So, but I think there could be a little bit of this could be the point at which it becomes tricky to let the power rise. Like I think the power is there, but it's almost like I don't know if I want to unleash it, because does that disconnect me from everybody? So I think that's what we're going to be exploring as we go through this. So with the tarot, we're going to firstly look at the power of character. So that is your character, how your character has brought you to this point with this power about to arise. And we're going to look at both what could be working very well for you following True North, even if it does mean that it's your true north rather than a communal true north. Let's put it that way. Like what works well, what could be blocking that? We're going to look similarly at the unconscious, so at the very deep level, what could be going on there. Then we're going to see how those two combine to bring the destiny that we're looking at here, because character is destiny, and it's both our frontal character and our subconscious. So firstly, just on the kind of character level, what you would show to the world or understand of yourself. What is operating for you around this hidden power of kind of inner stillness but flexibility to follow the true north? That's what we're talking about here. We have the Ace of Wands reversed, the Five of Wands reversed, the Five of Cups, the Ace of Swords, and the Two of Cups reversed. Okay, one of the things I'm going to say is I think that for most of you, there is some sort of heartbreak, love relationship, friendship or something like that, that has actually triggered this sense that I have to be an island. So I'm thinking there's a Simon Garfunkel song that talks about being an island. That I'm almost has this sort of thing that the person has been broke, has had a heartache, so they're saying they're on their own, and when you're on your own you never cry, that kind of thing. So there is something like that that's occurred. Looks like to some degree the awakening or unleashing of this power has come from separating out from something. And it's not that it's a consolation prize at all, but it's got something to do with it. And on a kind of character level, it is important to truly do this. If it's just a relationship, then yes, move away from that. But if it's a relationship in general, that may be something to think about. Is that a block to you? Because what's going on here is there's a lot of passion. There's something new. Like you're very new, you're very unique. That's why it is important that you find your inner peace in what you're doing and you move with the flow, because there's something new. There's a new way of thinking. There's a new way of new passion or a new ambition. But there's like an avoidance here of battles. So I feel like the character on one level, if there was a breakup in a relationship or a friendship or a business partnership or something like that, then accepting that, moving away from that, and thinking through how you do this on your own takes away the conflict and brings you the inner peace and the balance. That's great. Plus, you also, when there are different clashing egos, with your flexibility, you have an ability to deal with that. So you have an ability to negotiate when you need to bring about the new idea and the new way of thinking. But it's like there's a maverick energy around it. So at its very best, that's the way it operates. It could be also that it's come about from a disappointment, but you could still operate it that way. But I think the one thing to think about is, if there's an avoidance of pain associated with this, is that actually reducing some of what your creative energy, some of this fire energy that's coming out of the person in the star card, cooling it down almost and making it very internal and mental rather than out in the world. So there's something to think about. Like, why are we having the sense of disconnection from others? Is that because it gives you a clarity and a capacity to negotiate and be flexible in a way that others can't, or is it something that is blocking the full potential? So it's something to think about. So let's see what we get with the unconscious. Strength, death, change, choice, the High Priestess reversed, the Knight of Cups reversed, the Three of Coins reversed. Oh, yeah, there's definitely something going on with other people. Now, as I say, it may be, the other way this could be reading is that you have learned to do this from when you were very young because you didn't feel part of your family or whatever. But unconsciously, there is a push against being part of a group. You know, with the Collective reversed, with the Knight of Cups, openness, closed. It's closed. There's a closing off to groups. Now, as I say, that could be for you. It just depends on what your North Star is. That could be a very powerful thing because you've both subconsciously and consciously worked through what the sacrifices associated with that, and you're prepared to take it on. So at its best, it's working very well. Your attitude to this is very pragmatic, and you will express it. Like it's not something, you're not keeping that hidden. You're not kind of like going to pretend to be part of a group if you don't feel like part of a group. So that's powerful as well. And you are very strong, and you're about change and about new energy. So I think it depends. It's going to depend who comes to this reading as to whether or not the disconnect from other people is a weakening of your strength and a barrier to the full realization of your true north, or whether it's something that is required and circumstances are such that that's built a strength in you to be able to do it, so that you almost don't have skin in the game in an outcome, but you move towards an ideal or something like that. So it sort of depends, but there's definitely something in here that is about connecting to others versus a very singular path. So let's have a look. And this might be just about something in particular, because this is a hidden power coming up right now. It just might be something that's required for a particular project, and it's not a long-term thing. And you actually have that strength to step outside of the crowd and to go for what is new, which is wonderful if that's the case. I just think it's more, if this is a big lifestyle choice, make sure that it's coming from what is true and peaceful and in flow for you, rather than something that's avoidant, I guess. So let's have a look at how the character and the unconscious come together to form destiny around this. Knight of Coins, Two of Coins, Judgment reversed, Queen of Coins. Okay, I think for most of you, this is a very material decision at this point in time. For most of you, it's going to have something to do with what you do for career, making money, business, something like that. With all those coins, that's the realm in which this is operating. There's a dedication to it and a preparedness to take the risk. So there is, if there's a risk in being different in this, you're going to do it. And you're well balanced. And that said that right at the beginning with the inner peace. Like on a material level, you've got a pretty good idea what's going on here. And you can really make something grow. And you'll stay dedicated to this. Like there's a dedication to see this through. The only thing that this is though, is it is saying that you don't have to make being solitary or being different your full calling. It's a skill and an ability and a power. Use it judiciously. Because otherwise, if this becomes all that you do, you may regret that. You might regret the lack of connection. It's a skill to be able to be separate, to be very practical, to be able to be different. And that is what you can do. And you can do this better than most. And it will be successful. But don't make it the prototype for who you are in your soul, because that's the risk. That's the risk that you need to be aware of in this. So there may be other things and even in your material world where being in a collective is actually going to be a better choice. So make sure you remain flexible enough to do that. Pile 2. Okay, so we want to have a look at how this operates on a divine masculine and feminine. So divine masculine, this is not about gender, it's just about those energies. Divine masculine, we're talking about ambition, drive, competition sometimes. Feminine, we're talking about nurturing, caring, the emotions, all of that kind of thing, creativity. We're going to look first with deity energies for like kind of the macro power energy of this that's associated with it that you can draw on. Then we're going to use 2 other decks that pick up masculine and feminine energy to look more on like what this means on a kind of day-to-day character level. So firstly, for you, around this hidden power, the deity level divine masculine is, wow, hypnos, sleep. Okay. And the feminine deity energy, Sekhmet, reduction, power, a lot of power. So I feel like with hypnos, because a lot of this I think is going to be in your career or whatever, I think this is the flow thing. I think there's something here that's saying that you're very good at controlling the narrative in a way. Like because you're so clear and focused and you can go with the flow, like you are the ultimate mediator, negotiator. That's the energy. And I kind of got that with the first 2 cards, and that is really hitting now. You're at its absolute best. You can almost hypnotize people into following what you're saying, even when you're different. So it's a natural leadership sort of energy, but it's one to play with carefully, because hypnos does put people to sleep. Hypnotism. If you have a very hypnotic, and this happens with charismatic people too. There's quite a similarity here. Charisma or hypnotic sort of energy can be very isolating. It can be very powerful, but it can be very isolating, and it can create very weird relationships. And it's sort of like if you're looking after some particular, you're trying to create a good outcome for a negotiation, it's probably a very good power to have, because you can keep in balance and keep in flow and work with the energies and come out with a good outcome. But it's almost like it's a spell, and if you sat down and told someone how you did it, it would disappear. And that is a kind of an isolating thing. So it's sort of something also that you have to be very careful that it doesn't go to your head, and that you don't start using it in other things like relationships and so forth. So it reminds me, I did quite a lot of work around negotiations, and I was always very clear on the fact that you do a certain thing in a negotiation, not out of anything malefic, but to get people to understand each other's language and to be able to kind of come to a good outcome. And it was kind of manipulative. There's no way to do that without being a bit manipulative, but you try and be ethical and make sure you're not manipulating the outcome, you're manipulating the communication so that people can understand each other better. And that seemed to work very well. But it was like, well, there's no way that I would use any of that in a personal life. So I think you have something like that. That's something to be aware of. Sekhmet is very, very powerful. And so there's a very, very powerful feminine energy. But I think it's really interesting with this, because we have the inner peace and we have the flow. There's a simplicity. This is why I kept saying like Tibetan monk, martial arts. There's like the sense of reduction, simplifying power, bringing it down to its essential elements. Your creativity, I think, is to simplify and bring something into a kind of precision so it can move forward. And this is probably how you influence others. So this is showing why you're able to do this, why you exude a sort of power that other people will accept as being what you are, but it is also the thing that can make you a little bit isolated. So let's just see what we get around divine masculine and feminine on a more day-to-day level. You're an interesting group, I have to say. This is an interesting power to have. Crossing the threshold. Okay. For you, I think you always feel as though everything becomes a new quest, because this is one of the cards within this deck, which is the hero's quest. And when we get to the crossing the threshold, we are committing to what we're doing. And look how it figures on their own. Like, I just feel like this is something you're familiar with. This is a power that on different levels you've used probably all your life. But I think right now it's kind of like stepping up. There's a bigger thing around your pathway. But it's not your overall outcome. Like, being alone is not what this is supposed to be. This is to bring in something material. So there's a sort of sense of understanding that. And that because of that, you're going into using this ability, even though, as I say, you wouldn't use it. It feels very much like using something in a business context and making sure that you're not using it on a personal context. Okay, so let's see the more personal side in a way with the feminine energy. Oh, wow, separate, duality, solitude, transform. Yeah, reducing everything down to what is the key thing that you're trying to do. This is definitely a path of a loner for something, or a leader, or an influencer in some way, all of which are separate. But it's like, it's saying you can do it. You have the ability to do it, and you will get really good results, and even more than you think, because this is a hidden power really being unleashed now. But you're going to have to balance it out so that you don't become alone all the time, because none of us really want to be alone all the time. And I think to really connect to your sort of star ability, you also need to kind of turn that stargazer thing around and connect to others and inspire a vision beyond hypnotizing people into it, inspiring the vision so that people can take it forward as well. Okay, so let's get you some star energy, to like literal star energy from the stars to help you with this. Vega, luminosity, creativity, talent, fame. Okay, yeah, there is. For some of you, this might be doing the thing that is going to make you famous, make you really seen. Like, this could be a reading for someone who is a star, someone who is meant to suddenly, become a star of stage and screen or music or something. It could be sort of someone who is in a band and it's now ready to step out into what they are, an incredibly hypnotic way of dealing with things, an incredibly precise and powerful sort of energy and a great rhythm and flow. That could definitely be there. But even without this is, you have to, part of being, part of what fame is about is a kind of separation. So I think that is, knowing that is part of what this is about for you. And we have Arcturus, strong will, pioneer, forward thinking, change making. Yeah, and this is the Sekhmet energy as well, that you are an innovator, you are doing something new. And it is important, and sometimes we have to be on our own and just be in flow to do that. But we do need to connect with others as well. So let's get you a mythical creature to give you some advice. Serpent, wow, creation again. Keep putting out good. It will come back to you tenfold in unexpected ways. So yeah, as long as your ethics are good and it's in flow and it's in balance and you're trying to do something that is nourishing and healthy, you'll be fine. And there's a wisdom that comes with the serpent as well. You are meant to create something. But it's like, if you have to be alone for a while you're doing this, and if you have to use skills that are very influential on others, which I think is going on here, then always focus it on the good. And that way it won't get in the way of connection in other parts of your life. Okay, so what we're going to finish with is your own intuition. So we're going to use the Deeper Self Oracle. If you haven't seen this before, it's an oracle that just has very vibrant, different sort of symbolic art. What I always say with this is that when I put the card down, before you hear what I get from it, pause the video, see what you get, because that's very important on this. Then you can unpause and I'll tell you what I have seen. So for you, in terms of this stardom, kind of solitary road of self-actualization that's important to achieve something right now, we have, wow. So just pause, and now I'm going to presume you've unpaused. So for me, it almost gives you the answer to everything. Like everything is exuding out of the heart. So if the heart is in alignment and that is what dictates the flow, it will make sure that you don't misuse the ability of kind of hypnotic charisma, or it will make sure that you don't reduce things too much and separate out too much. It connects by the heart, and that will make other people come to you and see the good in what you're doing. It's really interesting too, because the character with the star here is holding something in front of his heart, and that the power is exuding from that, and then the messaging, the energy, the spirit is exuding from that. This is very key to your life path, because you've got the tree of life and the roots of the tree of life around this. And I feel like this is you knowing where you've come from and who you are and where you're going to. This is that sort of sense of being very balanced within. So I think that, and it will connect you to others in that way. But it is interesting, because I think although Judgment Reverse tells me that being alone is not what you're meant to be all the time, there is something innately lonely about you. And so you are connected to others, but there is still something very much within you that is very just within you, if that makes sense. I also think, I feel like this energy coming down from the branches, I think, I'm presuming there's some branches above there, is almost, I feel like there's, as I say, there's a warning in this about not misusing the power and not kind of getting stuck in it. I feel like it's sticky. To me, it just looks sticky. So I feel like it, but the good thing is it's not reaching yet, and there's a sort of like a clarity, and you seem to be a bit in front of it. So it's like not going back into that energy, but staying connected to the cosmos, I think, is what this is talking about. Now, in terms of in the book, just in case you want to know, it talks about this being being grounded, in what you most need right now. So I do think this is saying this is something that you do need to do right now. And with all those pentacles, it is very grounded. It's very material. The additional meanings say your financial issues are stemming from a self-worth wound or stability issue from childhood. So if you are trying to deal with financial stuff, then you are coming into a stage where you can do something about that, but it may be because of a disconnection from your childhood. And it is time to really connect to yourself on a fundamental level. Who are you? So this is very much about what's internal to you. So I think we're looking at a stage, but I think you have certain skills and abilities and powers that we also see here that are particularly good for that kind of thing. It's just don't use it in such a way that you feel that you don't also have the heart, like remember the heart in all of this. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Lovers, talking about attachment. And to me, that would suggest that something about this hidden power is about how you relate to others and the choices that you make in relationship. Now, the important thing about the Lovers card in the Major Arcana is it's not just about romance. So this could be about love, and it could be about a power to self-actualize within a love relationship, understand if it's the right one for you, all that kind of thing. And that could certainly fit with some of the energy that I'm seeing from the Fata Morgana Oracle here. But it could be about relationships in general and about what relationships are coming to you to help you. And I almost feel like for most it's more the latter than about a love relationship. I almost feel like the power is associated with that. It may be then to solve an issue about a current love relationship or other relationship. But what's interesting here, as I say, is this talks about attachment, what we get attached to, what we choose in terms of relationship. And these two cards, unveiling truth, is that something is hidden. So I think you have an awareness that something is hidden. Now, this could be a pattern within yourself. So it'll be very interesting when we're looking at your subconscious. It could be something within your subconscious that needs to be brought up, and bringing it up and understanding it is going to be a great sense of power coming through. But it could also be that you are about to understand a connection you have, and I'll get to this, with spirit or otherwise, that allows you to bring things up to the truth and see the truth in a way that other people can't. Similarly, with the burden reversed, this could be that in understanding this power, a sense of burden, worry, or whatever passes by. Or it could be that you are able to, once you can see the truth of things, you are better able to assess than the average person when a burden is there that is maybe not seen or expressed. So in relationship, is there somebody, if you were talking with a friend who tends to always find relationships with really dominating people, it's like, is that person taking on the burden of being almost the servant within a relationship? Are they giving up their power? So there could very much be a sort of an ability here to really diagnose and understand that. And for anybody who is in my collective who's come to this reading who's like a reader or a therapist or something, that power and that ability is going to get enhanced. And the key is actually Ghosts of the Desert, because Ghosts of the Desert talk about two things. One is being able to excavate your own past to understand the patterns. So whether this is you'll become better and better at understanding your own patterns and so forth, and how that brings certain circumstances in, and where you could be evading the truth and where you could be embracing the truth, and how to really know and navigate that. But this also connects you to your ancestors. And I feel like that's the dominant energy here. I think this is saying that you are very connected to your ancestral line, both probably your literal one in this life, possibly also ones from past lives, soul family lines. And that's what's emerging. And so I feel what this is talking about is a very profound psychic ability to connect to wisdom energies, the higher level perspective from those that have passed over and those that have gone before, to bring about the truth, to take things from being hidden to being seen, to understand whether a burden is passing or whether one is being avoidant, all in relation to relationships on one form or another. So I think you are going to become extraordinarily good at understanding the truth of relationships, whether for yourself or for others. This is the power. Now, of course, there's a very interesting one, because at its best, you can help others and help yourself. At its worst, it can become manipulative, because, I've been right about these 5, so I'm always going to be right. So, matchmaking and so forth, like that may be coming from the best of all possible intentions, but it's got to be allowing that the other people have choice, and that you don't necessarily quote unquote know better, because there's always nuances for these things. And the nature of this reading is to understand those nuances. But I do think there's a lot of wisdom coming up and an understanding of the dynamics of attachment. And this is going to be a very powerful thing for you. So what we're going to look at with tarot, we're firstly going to look about the power, how this impacts your character, like how your character operates with having this sort of power coming up. Then we're going to look at the unconscious, what's going on with the unconscious. Now, in both of these, we're going to look at where it could work really well for you, or where it could become something that was very egoic or turn against the best, even unwittingly. Then we're going to have a look at how those two combine to create destiny, because if you think of character and the unconscious create our destiny, how do those two things come together to be the destiny of this power for you? So firstly, around a character level for you. Knight of Cups, Judgment, Queen of Swords reversed, Seven of Swords, Five of Cups reversed. Okay, all right. We see both the real strength in this and also the risk that I was talking about. Actually, it's quite clear. On one hand, for you, let's say for you in relationships, and then how you are with others. This will make you be able to, whether it's in love relationships or others, be very open, because you will be able to get to and sense the truth about something. So you're open to looking at something, and you're also very well attuned to when something is fated in some way or is calling you in some way. There's a great deal of awareness about your heart and how it's operating here. But because you are accessing information that maybe is a little bit more hidden, there is a possibility sometimes that it could make you too critical. So to give you an example, if you meet someone and you're in the early stages of sort of going out, you're enjoying someone, and maybe there's a few things that in and of themselves happening would not be a big deal, but because you can sort of see the truth, you might conflate these into red flags, and they may not be red flags. So I think when you have a lot of knowledge about something, sometimes you can be too analytical at a point where you need to be in your heart. So that's a possibility. And you could also try to negotiate with yourself about what you're seeing so as not to feel the disappointment. So there could also be a denial, and the burden energy reverse there is also something like, if you're very clever at all of this and you understand it, you might be able to rationalize a whole bunch of things as well too. So there could be a red flag and you just rationalize it away. Or If you just get into that critical thing, you could be in a situation of like, nothing's ever going to be good enough. I'm going to avoid the heartache. I'm going to see this coming from miles off, and you kind of go out with somebody for a while and they're not good enough, and you go out with someone for a while and they're not good enough. So there's that kind of energy that could be going on. So it's like trying to stay in that space rather than overthinking it. If this is working with other people, again, you can help people be very well aware of this, but it is very, very important not to if you're giving advice or counsel or whatever, not to project what you would think onto it, and be critical of people's choices or whatever, because at the end of the day, people will have to go with their heart. So there is something about a great deal of knowledge has to be handled very, very carefully, and whether it's for your own relationship in not setting the standards so high that it's impossible. But equally for other people, not sort of like thinking you know better and that's all there is to it. Because you might know better on some levels, but on other levels, they are in their heart and they have to make the choice. So, okay, let's have a look at how it's operating unconsciously. Seven of Cups reversed. Six of Swords. Strength. And yeah, you have a great strength with this. The Star, you're confident, it's part of your north. You are meant to do stuff around relationship, and the Moon, very psychic. Like, you're very psychic. So I'm saying I feel like this is very much connecting to ancestors, spirit and everything. So unconsciously, you're getting a lot of this coming from the unconscious. A lot coming at night and sleep and all that kind of thing. And it is part of who you are. It is part of who you are. You are actually really born for understanding relationship energy. So as I say, you're born to be a reader, to be a therapist, to be a psychologist, to be a matchmaker. You're born for this, and you know it. And this ability, this connection is getting stronger and stronger. That's why the hidden power is really coming to the surface. So that's great. And it does give you a sense of calm and moving ahead, and you can give other people a sense of calm and moving ahead. That is realistic rather than, at its very best, this is exactly who you are. You give people peace of mind to be able to be realistic about what they're doing emotionally. But as I say, unconsciously, there could be a trade-off between romance and peace of mind. Like, I think a lot of this, the other reason why the ghosts of the past is so important, how this might be playing out may have to do with the kind of experience you've had, particularly if you're looking at this around in love, because if you've had, or even around family dynamics or whatever, if you've come from something that is very difficult or dysfunctional, you may already think the best thing I can do is help people have the peace of mind not to be deluded about something. So again, it can be too critical, either for yourself or for other people. You're so strong at this that your word will be very powerful with others, and what your mind tells you once you've sort of communicated with your intuition will be very powerful for you as well too. So understanding the dynamics of the past and how they impact the way that you process the information you're getting primarily psychically, that's really important. If you understand that, you're going to manage it a lot better. So let's see how these two come together for destiny, so to speak. It's funny how my throat was sort of like closing up then. Like there's sort of like, don't speak unless you're sure, unless you're clear is almost what I'm getting there, whether to yourself or to others. So destiny coming through. Ace of Cups reversed. Eight of Wands reversed. Page of Swords reversed. Ace of Coins. Okay, the reason this power is coming through and the reason you're connecting with your ancestors and so forth, which I always think a lot with coin energy, that kind of getting into the earth, is that I think there's an opportunity coming through for you. This is, whether it's in a love relationship or some other sort of connection that's important. Right now, this hidden power is coming up because there's a very good opportunity coming in. But because of something that's happened before where you felt disconnected, or a sense of you almost like to have that separate, I'm looking at everything objectively rather than being connected. You've almost slowed that within your own life for some reason. Maybe you saw it as a burden. And what that's done is it's shut down your wish to kind of really just explore and have fun. But you're meant to do that at the moment. And I think it's coming through to say, you know what, whatever happened that hurt you or made you a little bit distant and separated out from attachment, you are just meant to have a bit of fun and just see what happens, because there is something good happening here. And you're going to find over time that you understand that. So I think right now the power's coming up because there's an important relationship of one sort or the other, and it's good. And so this is like, but like you've almost shut some of that down. So your ancestors and spirit guides and so forth are coming forward to bring that power back up and remind you that you can do that, and remind you that you're safe to do it, because you will get to the truth. Okay, so let's have a look at how this is operating on a divine masculine and divine feminine. So the way I want to do that is I want to get you a deity level of those sort of energies first. We're not talking about gender here. We're just talking about those sort of energies. And then I want to look at the day-to-day energy, how that's playing out. So the deity level, the highest power energy around the divine masculine within you to do with this hidden power about understanding relationship is Jade Emperor, organization. Okay. And then when we look at the highest power of this around your divine feminine energy, we get Morgan Le Fay, magic. Wow, very powerful. You're very powerful in this. So I'm saying it's like you really, your connection like spiritually and psychically is off the charts with this. But it's also, there's almost a kind of patrician severity about it. That's the thing you have to be aware of. That like your divine masculine goes towards, where does this fit in? Is it a solid structure? How well organized is it? Do we have all the facts? It's like, I feel like it's almost like your inner divine masculine. When it comes to this, if you were getting information from your ancestors and your spirit guides and so forth about a relationship, whether it's yours or someone else, it's almost like you're the CEO and you're waiting for a briefing paper on a new policy decision. And you want to see all the things that were considered and all the pros and cons and the balanced and reasonable decisions about that, and then an outcome. So you're very structured. And there's a lot to be said for that, because you will look at and understand things that other people, because they're just in the field, so to speak, may not do. But if that overtakes it, it can be too much. And what I used to find it really frustrating, actually, writing briefs for senior executives or whatever, because quite often you have to simplify it so much that you lose the nuance, and so, because it's like, oh, they're busy people, so don't give them more than 2 pages. And it's like, well, this is a bit more complex than that. So I do think there's a little thing here about, yes, it's good to have structure and brevity and getting to the point, but it's also important to have nuance, which is why I think it's good that you've got the Morgan Le Fay, because she is much more magical. She's much more intuitive. So it's a nice balance. It's a nice balance to make that work for you. So how is it working on the day-to-day? If we look at that kind of organizational CEO mindset around the divine masculine for how you look at relationship and attachment, we get, okay, all right, yeah, is there a thing here where it's actually, and this is something only you can know, and it may depend on the situation, where you use the organisation and the severity to avoid things that you're fearful of. Because you know what, one of the reasons that you have to write all these briefs and go through all this sort of stuff, using that as the analogy, is risk management. So I think it's very, very important that it doesn't turn out that you end up walking away from everything or telling everybody to walk away from it, because, the risk management is too much of this. There's also the benefits, so I think that's really important, to not use the structure and the precision of this to actually be an exit strategy, because there could be some good relationships for you and for other people. So it's just worth knowing, as I say, a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing. Then when we talk about Morgan Le Fay, who's much more in touch with the magic and the power of things, so I think she's a very good balance for this energy. That comes out as yin head, thought, quiet mind, impartial. I think that this is maybe the inner balance for you. So it's like the connecting to the intuition. It's good that that's there, because it's like, this is like, it's kind of, I feel like the Jade Emperor would not be impartial. It would be, it has to be this way or it's not good enough. Morgan Le Fay would go, no, I'm more impartial. I'm looking at what's actually going on here. So, and it's a quieter mind. It's just allowing things to come through and having the trust in the magic and the messages. So I think Morgan Le Fay is very important here for you. Okay, let's get you some celestial or star guidance as well. Mars, coming over here, assertion, force, passion. I mean, you're very powerful with this, and there's a lot of passion. It's like, I sort of feel like it's, there's a show on one of the streaming services with a matchmaker in America, and like, she's very strong personality. I'm kind of feeling a bit like that. I'm not saying you're that person, but there is a lot of passion and drive, and you really want the best, and you want to see action, and you want to, like, it's, yeah, and I think you would say, and I absolutely agree with this, I have to say, that we are what we do. People can have all the pretty words in the world, but we are what we do. And I think this is part of this energy, and there's a lot that's true about that. But, it's also need to temper that with kind of the kind of feminine energy as well. And we get Neptune. Depths, dreams, illusion, imagination. Okay, so this is yeah, it is well tempered in you. This is why this is a power of yours, because yes, there's all the kind of we are what we do, let's get on with it, but there's also very, very psychic energy. That's the ghost of the past, as I say, the connection to your ancestors, connection to your spirit team. That's your real ace in the hand. You really are able to do that. And that's the thing, to not get too much here. To be more in what are you getting intuition wise, because that's where the real strength is. That's where the turbocharging of this is. What's a mythical creature and their advice for you? Griffin, romance. You don't marry someone you can live with. You marry the person you cannot live without. Yeah, this is the point, isn't it? I do think a lot of this is about romance relationship. At the end of the day, yes, your understanding of dynamics is off the charts. You're very intuitive, and you also have a really good grasp of psychology. As I say, you're really, really good at this. And there's a new opportunity coming in for you that's really going to turbocharge that. You're going to be even more aware of all of that. And I think it is about finding the one for yourself, if that's what you're looking for, or a really great business partner, or whatever it might be. But it is, at the end of the day, you can have all the truths and all of that in the world, but it's like, what is the heart telling you? And I think that's the thing. It's sort of like, even if there are some things that aren't ticking the criteria that the Jade Emperor might want, intuitively, this is the one, and you have to be with that person. I think you'll know that for yourself, and you can do that for others. This is why the power is vested in you, because in the end, you do know that's, that the heart needs to win in the end. Okay. So to finish off, we're just going to use a deck that gets really to your intuition, and that's particularly important for you because that's really a big part of your hidden power. This is the Deeper Self Oracle. If you haven't seen this before, it just has really strong imagery and symbolic imagery. What I suggest for this is that when I lay the card down, pause the video, get what you get from it in relation to this, with whatever's been making sense to you in this reading, take from the image what you get, then unpause. You can hear what I get from it in terms of the collective reading as well. So for this one, in terms of your hidden power, wow. So I'm going to presume you just paused and now you've unpaused. I think this is showing all the levels on which you're connected to others, and this is why we had the ghosts of the past sort of energy, the kind of ancestors or whatever. This is like from your own mind. You may feel a bit alien to everybody and a bit different to everybody, but you're connected to all these other energies. So you're connected to an energy that is performative. You're connected to an energy that is explorative. You're connected to an energy that goes with the flow and so forth. There's a sense of your connection to others is what's giving you part of this. And I think part of it is, as I say, the kind of connection to ancestors, but I do think you're highly telepathic as well. I think this might be the other thing that's showing. This feels to me like, and not just to humans, but to all life forms. And I think it's about the balance of this, of understanding you can be a star with this power, but you also need to be exploring within yourself and within others, and very natural. You have to go to the emotional flow. You have to connect to the cosmos. You have to be still and centered within. It's a lot of busy energy with it. And that might be why you sometimes tilt to this of like, well, like it's so much involved. Let's do a bit of risk management as opposed to let's just experience it, go with the flow, and then decide what the balance is. So I think you need to be aware that you're very psychic, you're very telepathic, you're very connected to spirit and ancestors in an almost unusual way. It really makes you stand out. but you do need to balance all those things because you're getting the inputs of all this sort of stuff to get the truth. And that can be confusing. So work with that. Now let's just see what the actual book says. Imagination. So what are you creating in your imagination? Okay, so that's another thing too. Like all this information coming in, like how do you differentiate and know that it's not you imagining or projecting, that it is actually the information that's coming from your intuition? So it's like what is happening in that space, and maybe in your imagination you draw in relationships and so forth. Be aware of that. Be aware of that power. Additional meanings are your dreams and how you act in the world are not aligned. Align them, and the answers you seek are hidden in your daydreams. So yeah, going within your intuition. This is the thing that you need to really rely on because this bit's there. It's like a structure you can slot all that into. But don't let that rule, because if you do, I think you project, because like this might be projecting as opposed to connecting in. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.